Although we aren't yet officially in a recession, many of us already believe that a recession will happen in 2023. And we all know the Feds will probably increase interest rates to further slow the economy because inflation is still on the rise. We could very easily enter a true recession if the economy weakens significantly. From the stock market to the labor market, a recession can hurt a lot of people. What would actually happen if the US economy collapsed? Well, you would probably lose access to credit if the American economy crashed. Banks would shut down, food, gas, and other necessities would be in greater demand than available. Water and electricity may not be available if local governments and utilities were impacted by the collapse. A US economic collapse would create panic around the world. Both the dollar and US Treasury values would fall. The cost of borrowing would soar. The UN, the euro, and even gold would become popular as alternative investments for investors. And as the value of the dollar relative to other currency decreased, it would lead to not just inflation, but also hyperinflation. Consider the Great Depression if you want to fully understand what life would be like during an economic collapse. Black Thursday saw a stock market crash, and by the following Tuesday, it had declined by 25%. That weekend, many investors lost their entire life savings. By 1932, 1 in 4 Americans did not have a job. Wages for those fortunate enough to keep their job fell sharply. Manufacturing wages fell to 32% between 1929 and 1932. As a result, the US GDP was reduced by almost half. But remember, a collapse is different from a crash. Economic collapse is clearly different from economic crash. Despite how painful it was, the economy did not collapse in 2008. Even though millions of people lost their jobs and homes, basic services were still available. So the question is, will the American economy even collapse? Economic collapse in the US is unlikely when necessarily the government can take swift action to avert a full collapse. For instance, the Federal Reserve can use its tools for contractionary monetary policy to control hyperinflation, or it can collaborate with the Treasury to provide liquidity, as it did during the COVID pandemic and the 2008 financial crisis. There is little chance of another banking collapse like the one that occurred in the 1930s because banks are insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation now, or the FDIC. And to add, the president can use strategic oil reserves to offset an oil embargo. Homeland Security can deal with the cyber threat. The United States military can respond to terrorist attacks, transportation disruptions, rioting, and civil unrest. In other words, the federal government has numerous tools and resources at its disposal to prevent an economic collapse. But if an economic collapse would really happen, you can still prepare by keeping your debt low, living within your means, and having money and savings that you can access quickly if needed. Guys, I've been digging the latest news trends, working on videos for hours and hours, sleepless nights to give you the best content. So if you can, give me a thumbs up and a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.